Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. We have already convened. We went into closed session, and we are now reconvening into our open session. We've already called roll, so we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Allegiance to the flag. Thank you, everybody. Jeanette, will you please read the mission statement?
We educate all students to be college, career, and community ready, inspired to succeed in our diverse world.
Thank you. I'll read the land acknowledgement. We, the members of the Green Bay Area Public School District, recognize and honor the original inhabitants of Northeast Wisconsin. Our district lives, works, and learns upon the ancestral homelands of the Menominee and Ho-Chunk nations and the current homeland of Oneida Nation. We acknowledge the 12 diverse and vibrant Wisconsin First Nations who have persevered here since before recorded time and continue to be integral parts of our community. We uphold our responsibility to repair relationships, initiate partnerships, and stand with all First Nation communities. All right, we're going to move into recognition. We have an agendaed recognition, but before we do that, I want to take a moment of personal privilege and say that the district was able to host an event last week to recognize the career of Superintendent Vicki Beyer. And if you were there, you know that she was very uncomfortable during the entire time. But I don't want to rehash that. If you were able to come, you recognize that it was a great event. But Vicki will be leaving with a key to our city. But more importantly, an endowment was established in her name by the Green Bay Area Public School District Education Foundation. So if you navigate to our website, you can find that foundation link. Please, if you want to continue to celebrate her, we would appreciate any kind of contribution you can make to that endowment. That will continue to live well beyond her tenure here. So,
Thank you.
All right. Now to the agendaed recognition. So, the Friend of Education Award is bestowed upon an individual, organization, or group whose leadership, acts, or support have significantly benefited the Green Bay Area Public School District, its employees, and/or its students. Tonight, we are honored to present the Friend of Education Award in recognition of an extraordinary partnership that has strengthened our schools, our families, and our community. Through a shared commitment to student success, our community school strategy has grown from one school to two: Howe Elementary Community School and Nicolay Elementary Community School, expanding opportunities and support for hundreds of children and families. This progress has been made possible through a generous investment of $450,000 by Brown County United Way, whose belief in the power of community has fueled meaningful, lasting change. Because of this partnership, both schools have seen an significant rise in parent engagement with family events that bring caregivers into the heart of the school experience. Students now have increased access to essential school-based services, including vision, dental, mental health, and medical support, removing barriers to learning and ensuring every child is cared for. At Howe Elementary, the impact is especially clear: a consistent decline in chronic absenteeism and steady improvement in the school state report card rating over the past 3 years. These outcomes reflect what is possible when a community invests deeply in its children. For their unwavering support, their belief in our students, and their partnership in building stronger schools, We are proud to honor Robin Davis and the Brown County United Way with the Friend of Education Award. Now, come up to the lectern. If you have anything you would like to say, you can absolutely take this opportunity. And if you want to bring anyone else from Brown County up, you absolutely can.
Come on up to thank you so much. Thank you so much for this honor and privilege on behalf of our staff, and this is just a part. A few members of our dynamic team and our board of directors were humbled and honored by this recognition and for the opportunity to support Green Bay Public Schools, Hal and Nicolay. We want to thank Vicki Beyer, who's been a wonderful partner, and she's been a member of our board of directors for several years, and we're just really grateful and humbled by this privilege. Thank you.
Have a photo.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready?
A little which ones? I mean, if we have a couple come forward and a couple get solid people come in the back, that would be. That would be great. I mean, if you step forward, all of that stuff. Perfect.
Yeah, we could do this.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
This makes me nervous. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, of course.
All right, at this time, it is also our pleasure to recognize a cohort of individuals who dedicated significant time this school year to learn more about the Green Bay Area Public Schools. We want to acknowledge and extend our appreciation to Superintendent Beyer for her leadership in identifying the need in the district and for setting a priority of intentional community engagement. In addition, we wish to express the board's gratitude to the Green Bay Area Public Schools Education Foundation Chair, Eric Vanden Heuvel, for partnering with the district and leading the sessions. Tonight, we recognize the second Ambassador Academy cohort. This group of individuals spent time together each month learning about the inner workings of the district and participating in a book study for Schools Cannot Do It Alone. More importantly, they provided valuable feedback and asked great questions to help us as we continue to do what is best for kids. Not everyone could join this evening, but for those of you who are with us tonight, when we call your name, please come forward, receive your certificate, and then at the end, they will take a group photo. So I'm going to read everyone's names, even if they aren't in attendance tonight. So I would say, wait for your name to be called. First up, we are recognizing Sarah Beckman. Okay, Chris Brennan, Jacqueline Brown, Chip Dolan. Next up, we have Crystal DeClean. Lupita Dorado. Daniel Doyen. Mark Dunning. Dawn Esterling. Heidi Fagry. Chandel Figueroa. Trevor Fuller. Jasmine Gordon. Mark Husin. Laura King. Emily Clemmy. Jackie Kroll. Fatma Latifi. Brent Rubel. Ethan Rouse. Courtney Sherman. Alice Moara. Sarah Sugden. Windsor Tanner. Jill Thede. Christopher Thorson. Senator Jamie Wall. Nope. And Ben Williams. All right. Thank you for posing for your group photo. It will be fantastic. I'm sure of it.
Jill. All right, I'm gonna be able to look this way. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. So at the beginning, because we reconvened into open session, I failed to acknowledge that we have someone from Inner City Student Council with us. Introduce yourself, and then how about you give us a report?
Okay,
There you go.
I think I
See?
got it. Oh, cool. I'm Lola, and there's not much new with a report from Intercity Student Council. I think we all had a pretty good year and finished strong. We had a good little party afterwards, and we're excited for next year.
I keep forgetting that school sal. I don't know why you have no report. Mr. Hernandez, can we do something about that next year? Okay. Yeah. All right. I have one registered speaker for public forum. If anyone wanted to speak, there's a pink slip that you need to fill out in advance. If not, if Jeff DeGrave is with us, I don't see him, but give him a moment. Anyone else willing, wanting to speak? If not, we'll move down to section 5, discussion with the superintendent update.
Okay, thank you. We go back about 3 weeks. So you are going to see updates on a time back when we were still in school. Let's begin with the first slide. First, an acknowledgement that our own Ingrid Parker Hill will be serving as a board member for On Broadway. Yeah. Many of the team members have stepped up to ensure that we are engaging in the community fully, and Ingrid continues to model for us what this should look like. The citywide track meet for middle school occurred, I think this was the second to last week of school. This is a tradition that's going on for as long as I remember. great opportunity for all of our middle schools. Maybe Alex, do you know how long that's been happening?
I would only be speculating, but when I worked with Mr. Joe Bachman at Washington, he might have been the one who at least was in part responsible for starting it, I believe. And I'm pretty sure it goes back, at least predates my time in the districts when I started. So I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between 15 to 20 years old, if maybe longer.
Thank you. Really great event for our kids. Okay, familiar face in the middle. That's our new guy. I don't know what he's doing in this picture with me. Michael. We had a great time. We went over and toured the construction happening at Chapel Elementary School, and the progress is incredible. I think when school starts in fall, our students that are moving to new facilities will be very impressed with what they're moving into. McAuliffe had their spring concert, and this is the first year I've been to it, and I really regret that because it's an annual thing for them. They hold it outdoors when they're able to. In this particular concert, when I pulled up, I thought it was going to be in the gymnasium. Instead, I saw very similar to Packer games where parents are flooding to the back of the school with their lawn chairs and coolers. I didn't check the coolers. I'm sure it was safe. But they put on a performance to acknowledge Kelly Rowland, their outgoing retiring principal. So all of the songs that they sang were the story of Kelly's life. And it was really incredible. It was a surprise for Kelly. His wife was there to join them as well. This is Kelly being acknowledged at, I think that was Bellevue, right? Bellevue Board of Trustee, Thomas Murphy, who was in the first Ambassador Academy, recognized Kelly for his dedication and partnership. The village officially passed a proclamation at their Wednesday, May 27th village board meeting. It was quite the honor for Kelly. Of course, we had the retirement celebration at Riverside, well attended as always. Really great opportunity for us to acknowledge our staff that are moving on. This, if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage all of you to try to get over to Aldo Leopold. They had an expert come in, Naomi Mose Jenkins, who is an artist, and she was an artist in residence and worked with the students to create this incredible installation for Legacy Day, acknowledging Aldo Leopold and his commitment to the environment. I don't think we talk about this one enough, the Destination Imagination, so I wanted to make sure that the board and the public were aware that we do have students and schools participating in this. Congratulations to 2 of our teams that recently competed at Destination Imagination in Kansas City. 2 elementary level teams represented the district. There was Aldo Leopold, Mighty Honeybees, and Leonardo da Vinci School for Gifted Learners had the 4 French fries. Out of 56 teams, Da Vinci's team came in 25th. Aldo's team came in 29th overall. Aldo's team had the highest score of the tournament for the Fine Arts Instant Challenge, a surprise challenge where the teams are suddenly given a set of materials and must think on their feet to build a structure, perform a skit, or solve a task within minutes. So congratulations to our students. John Dewey Academy of Learning had their senior capstone projects I've shared with the board before when they had the mid-year capstone review. These are some of the best capstones I've ever seen. So whatever's happening at JDAL right now, they're knocking it out of the park with these projects. Great detail, projects that I would see at mid-college level, very impressive. Kennedy third graders had an economics event where I don't know how I ended up paying a couple dollars for a picture that says be a better person, but I did. Really great activity. Students created their own artwork and then went through the process of how much should I sell it for, and then actually selling their products. It was a fun event in the Kennedy gymnasium. Then we went over to Doty Elementary. The kindergarten class had their graduation, a really nice event celebrating our kinders over there. And they're about to get an addition to their school as well. MacArthur, fourth grade, they invited me into their classroom. They were working towards the end of the school year on entrepreneurship. Each team, they were put into teams and they had to create a new cereal. And they had to stand up in front of their classmates and sell it based on what the ingredients were, what the flavor was, came up with the whole marketing scheme. It was a great opportunity for fourth graders. Preble softball, I was hoping that we would be sharing with you a championship. Preble team, we at district office had an affinity to this team this year because their pitcher actually worked in our office with Kinsey and Mandy, and really a great kid. They did a wonderful job this season, falling short during the semifinals. I didn't know Julie was going to be here tonight because she's sitting in the audience, and I was going to acknowledge her to the board because Julie Ullman, here's what I wrote down, Julie, before I even saw you. You're the library media specialist at West High School, and you transform libraries into hands-on opportunities for our students to explore. She was at East before, now she's at West, and anytime you go into the library, it's not just reading books, it's activity. She engages to the point where students really want to be in there, and it's fascinating to watch. These are just some of the stats that she was able to share with us. Julie, can you just wave so they can see who you are? There she is. If you remember back to the beginning of the school year, David and I chose To the Stars to be the theme for the year, and then Lori Blakesley and Justine Brown got to work putting together a video. And I'm pleased to share with the board and with the public that they won the National School Public Relations Association Award of Excellence for the video that they put together. So congratulations, Lori Blakesley and your team. It is. Don't remember how far back, but it was within the last 10 years. We started working with the city on the safe walk and bike plan. Maybe Laura McCoy remembers when we actually began that work. It's been a while. Well, new sidewalk construction at Hemlock Drive and Manitowoc Road advances. This is near Wilder Elementary. By upgrading this school access corridor, the city is improving safety, comfort, and predictability for our students, caregivers, and other people walking and biking in the area. I've been talking to people at the City Hall for probably 6 months now in hopes that we would do something about Shawano, because I think our kids deserve to transport to West High School and to Lincoln Elementary School on roads that are paved just as nicely as other neighborhoods. And I'm really glad to share that they've completed the mill and pave resurfacing project on Shawano. And lastly, I'm going to conclude with this. Louis the Lion at Langlade has been a mystery. We never knew who was in the costume. So a couple of weeks ago, Louis showed up throughout the city. So there's at Lambeau Field. Here's Louis in front of Neville. And on the next slide, Louis in front of all students told us who she was. That's Melissa Wojak. Yeah, that's the principal of Langlade. We always said it's interesting that Melissa and Louis were never in the same area at the same time, but she dismissed it. So Melissa is going to be our new principal at Doty next fall when Langlade and Doty combine. Natalie Nienhaus will be the AP, so kids will have familiar administrators, and they're ready to make it an amazing year for the students at Doty Elementary. And that concludes my update.
Thank you. So I think that's your last update, right? Fantastic. All right, so we'll move on to the legislative update. Jeanette?
All right, thank you. So the state has not made any movement towards additional funding. Last time I reported that there was a proposal on the books, but that didn't go anywhere. the chambers will not reconvene until January of 2027. So keep that in mind when you go to the polls this coming November, that the Assembly reps and the Senate have not been working for a while. So federally, this week, the U.S. Department of Education has announced it is rolling out 4 new interagency agreements with the Department of Health and Human Services and Department of Justice. These agreements are designed to shift oversight and responsibilities for special education and rehabilitation services, including the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, oversight and funding to HHS. Don't know how that's going to work out. We'll just have to wait and see. Civil rights enforcement, student privacy protection, and training and advisory services will be shifted to the DOJ. That information I was able to get from the WASB legislative update. The latest agreements have raised many questions from special education and civil rights advocates on how these agreements may impact and disbursement services and who to contact with questions, concern, and complaints. So we're just going to have to wait and see. A reminder that there is a primary election on August 11th and then a general election on November 3rd. All assembly seats are up for election, along with 17 of the 35 Senate seats and the governor's seat. So you can find out more about candidates in your district, who supports public schools, and vote accordingly. You can go to myvote.wi.gov to find out who's on your ballot, where you can vote, request an absentee ballot if you need that, and to find out about early voting.
Any questions for Jeanette? Discussion? Thank you, Jeanette. We'll move on to 5C, the referendum poll results. We have a online visitor. Is Peter with us? Peter, can you hear us?
Yes. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Perfect. And I think they're going to display the PowerPoint and run it for me on your end.
Give us just a second.
Peter, do
Okay.
you have it? I was told you wanted to share it and click through on your own.
Oh, I can share it. Yeah, Lori,
Yep, so you should have access to share the PowerPoint.
Perfect. I have it up here. So everybody see it?
Yes, we do.
All right. Just to review with everybody, it's basically the same methodology as we did back in February. 400 sample across this entire school district. 400 is always plus or minus 5% in 95 out of 100 cases. The size of the sample determines the margin of error, not the percent of the population. So a 400 in Green Bay area school district, a 400 in Brown County, a 400 across the state of Minnesota will always be plus or minus 5%. This was a much shorter survey, so the average interview time was 6 minutes. Non-response rate was 5.5%. This is hot off the press from June 3rd to June 12th. The survey was conducted. Putting up demographics, no major changes from the February survey, and all in line with what we see with updated census information. You have just short of 40% that have been in the district for under 10 years, while you have 40% that have been in the district for over 20 years. So the typical resident comes in right at about 15 years. 10% have preschoolers in their household. 26% have a child attending the Green Bay area public schools, and then 71% are empty nesters. And empty nester, once again, does not denote an age. It is simply lack of presence of a child. So we could have a 24-year-old. For the purpose of the survey, they are labeled as empty nester. So your core constituency is 1 out of 4 residents in the community. 38% are renters, 36% indicate report that their home is valued under 300,000, while 25% say that it's valued over 300,000. 42% are college graduates. Just over a quarter are high school graduates or have less than a high school graduation. 31% have some college experience. I was very interested to look at the financially stressed situation of the household, since we have a direct comparison from back in February. And in February, things were getting better. And you were at about, I think it was 38, 39%. And with everything that's happened since the February survey, rising gas prices, concerns on the economy, we're starting to see it go up. Yours did not go up statistically significantly, but it did go up a bit. And what we're finding right now in the upper Midwest is in the low 40s percent saying that they're financially stressed, 55% indicating they're financially comfortable. And the issue with this, and we've never recovered since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, the norm was about 26, 27%. So even in good economic times, you still have about 1 in 4. But we have not. The lowest we had was about 6 months ago. We had a couple months where it was in the low 30s. And this is just really important for a district requesting funding from voters, because the higher that number is, it just creates more people that would support something that can't afford to support something. So you're just in line with what we're seeing. Now, where this number goes by the time we get to November is anybody's guess. 2026 has been a yo-yo in public opinion. But it's just to be noted, just over 4 out of 10 residents indicate that they're financially stressed. The geographic location, just short of 70% in Green Bay, 14% in Bellevue, 12% in Alloway, and 5% in the remaining areas of the district. 25% indicate that they're 18 to 34-year-olds, while 23% are 65 and older. Typical resident comes in roughly at about 47 years old. Women and men were equally distributed, 50-50. And interestingly, with everything that's happened in 2026, not much movement one way or the other for the Republican versus Democrat. +6 Democrat with 16% indicating that they're independent. For the charts that we have common questions, we have the survey from back in 24, the blue, the yellow's February, and then the green will be the results from this month. The quality of education is unchanged. You've been between 77 and 80%, very much in line with what we see across the upper Midwest. What's the most serious issue facing the district? Once again, this is open-ended. They can tell us anything. We collapse them down into categories and report it out. What leads the list is just about every school district. Doesn't matter if we're in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, Pennsylvania. 23% indicate that lack of funding off the top of their mind. And we haven't discussed funding at all. This is the second question they're asked. High taxes, we're going to explore in a couple slides. Poor spending, staff shortages is about double what we see as a concern. Lack of discipline, a little bit lower than what we see as a concern. But the takeaway is you talk about potential funding requests this fall, 1 in 4 are already concerned about the funding for the Green Bay area public schools. We have many atmospheric questions we asked in the last one. We narrowed it down to really the 5 most critical as districts go forward with a funding request. The perception, first off, does the district spend taxpayers' money effectively and efficiently? And I know you've had discussions since I reported the February survey out about what's happening this fall and budget decisions and everything like that, but it is unchanged. 74% say the district does spend taxpayers' money effectively and efficiently. Does the resident receive a good value for their investment? Absolutely, unchanged over the past 2 years. Does the district do a good job of involving the community? Absolutely unchanged, 77% in each of the 3 surveys. Are they satisfied with the decision making? 74%. And then the last question is, the schools are a good investment, and I would support a property tax increase to protect that investment. The key on this is always the no, because it fleshes out who the core opposition is at the outset. And we always want that number to be under 35%. And you can see that we're unchanged from the February survey, actually down a point. 29% is the core opposition. Job performance ratings, still very high and unchanged. The board, 72-24. Norm on this favorable right now is about 62%. The administration, 67-31, and the teachers almost to 90% in June of 2026 now at 89%. So the governance, the administration, and the folks and staff in the schools are all highly regarded, and they do see the governance and the administration as one unit. I always know I'm looking at a dysfunctional school district if the school board rating is here and the administration is here, or vice versa. They see you as one entity in the Green Bay area public schools. Overall assessment of financial management, then, it was 60%, 59, 52. You're right at the norm. Is just over a majority in the upper Midwest, indicating and rating the financial management positively. Now, part of this is borne out because of the concern on property taxes and the concern on the adequacy of funding. But interestingly, you did not have a large jump in the perception of high for total taxes. You have 51% saying their total taxes are high, an increase of 2%. Well, at the same time, when we asked them to think about their school taxes, only 40% said they were high. That's a 7% decrease. So what this tells me is that the focus, if they have concerns on property taxes, their anger is not directed at the school district. They're focused on the city and county. That's the good news for the school district. The bad news, as always, is, as we know, cities and counties, for the most part, do not have to go to the public for an increase in funding. So you are, and this is, we see this everywhere right now. The concentration is focused on cities and counties, and you can see it play out here now that you have this gap of 11% in the high category between the perception of total taxes and school taxes. Is the district adequately funded? On this one, we have a 5% drop. And that's not statistically significant. It has to be greater than 5% with the margins of errors of both surveys. But still, only a third of residents now say they believe that the Green Bay area public schools are adequately funded. Just short of 60% say no, they're not. So when we ask folks, if you heard the district was going to ask for a funding request, are you for all, against all, or are you persuadable? The same phenomenon, I pointed it out earlier this year. You have the lowest level of persuadable that I've seen in my 32-year career. When I started in 1994, we would have 75% persuadable. Now it's pretty consistently about 50% persuadable. You have 41% persuadable. Basically, you have 30% in each tribe. And with this, we haven't told them the purpose. We haven't talked about any dollar amounts or anything. They're either for or against it at the outset. And you come out dead even at the start, 29% against all, 29% for all. So we split the sample, and it was about how to tier the funding request in front of voters. And the 200 residents were told, I'm going to read it so everybody's clear on the language. It would be a 4-year non-recurring operating levy for $27 million that would increase to $50 million. The district would levy the following over the 4 years: $27 million in 2027, $35 million in 2028, $42 million in 2029, and $50 million in 2030. The funds would be used to retain and attract quality teachers, maintain education programs, and provide financial stability to avoid deep budget cuts. Due to expiring debt, there would be no property tax increase. 67% support, 30% opposed. Keep in mind, we had 29% that are against any funding request from the school district. The key on this is the no property tax increase. Typically, when we do a survey with no property tax increase, whether it's a renewal or a district has expiring debt, that will allow it to be flat for the additional funding, it's typically somewhere between 65 and 75% support. Now, we followed up and we asked folks, what's the reason for your decision? 28% said education's important. 18% said this funding is needed. 11% said that they had children in the district, and 9% indicated there was no tax increase. By election day, if you choose to go forward, the number one reason will have to be need. And it's natural. But you already have a good basis with just sort of 1 in 5 pointing to the need for the funding. On the flip side, opposition, my taxes are already too high. 8% I don't have children. 7% poor spending. 5% asking for too much. And I just table that for a second, but remember that 5%. 4% want the tax decrease, and 1% say it's not needed. So on the need proposition, it's 18-1 of those making their decisions. Now, the other 200 were told, suppose the district proposed a 4-year non-recurring operating levy that would provide $31 million in 2027 and 2028 and $46 million in 2029 and 2030. The funds would, just like we said in the previous, the funds would be used to retain and attract quality teachers, maintain education programs, and provide financial stability to avoid deep budget cuts. Due to expiring debt, there would be no property tax increase. This one, we have 74% say they support, 23% oppose. On the intensity, just like the previous one, it's about 2-1, strong support versus strong opposition. So there is an 8-point difference on this. Now, on a 200 sample, the overall 400 is plus or minus 5%. The margin of error on a 200 sample is approximately 7.1%. So it's just within the margin of error. And that's kind of what I expected on this. Because when you're talking about the tier, the different levels of funding each year, in essence to the community, it's kind of insider baseball. What residents react to first is how much is this going to cost and what are the funds going to be used for? That's the value proposition that they make when they go into a voting booth, not whether it's this dollar amount in 27 versus this one in 28. But when we do ask the reason for decision, 24% education's important, the need, no tax increase, no children in the district. On the opposition side, no children, taxes too high, not needed. They want the tax decrease and poor spending. But what disappeared, and I'm going to just flip back, is asking for too much. And that 5%. And that basically comes up with the 7% difference that we have between the two surveys, in that I think as people were read multiple numbers for multiple years in that first question, even though they're the same dollar amounts, it just became too much, where the district is asking for too much, where the second one is just much simpler. It's this amount for the first 2 years. It's this amount in the next 2 years. And I think, and I would highly advise, as we just heard from the legislative update, there's going to be a lot of politicking and a lot of campaigning this fall. And simplicity is the best option moving forward with a funding request to the public. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? So Peter, you obviously did a great job because I think we have the information that we need. Now, it's my understanding that this was just polling the residents of the school district. We ask you to formulate the 2 different questions around the tiers to inform us exactly how you described if there was any difference in perception given the 2 different tiers. But this is not a decided question, right? So the process now would be that we would take this under advisement, and it would be the work session in July when we would actually have the discussion and we would craft the question that we want to put on the referendum on the ballot, right? So there are certain things that were asked in the poll that would be inappropriate to put into a referendum, right? So we would have to work out a referendum question. So we have to work out exactly the what we want them to see when we have them go into the voting booth and make sure that it is aligned with what we can say and what that question can be. So last opportunity, any questions for Peter? Yes, Laura.
Will this presentation be, I would like to be able to access this again and spend some time with the slide deck. Is that possible?
So Laura, can that be made available to us? I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, Eloise.
I have a question, and just because I'm curious. Where was like for the 400 samples? Where were they and where did they end up? Like I don't know if that makes sense, but where were the people living? How was that distribution?
Yeah.
It was it was on the earlier slide. Just sort of
Sorry.
70% lived in the city of Green Bay, and then I believe it was 14% in Bellevue, 12% in Alloway, and 5% in the remaining areas of the district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Peter, I had put in a request, and I think it made its way to you.
Yes.
To kind of break down that distribution in the municipalities, because I know that some municipalities are more conservative than others. I'd love to understand how Bellevue and Alloway responded.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it is now with 200 in each area. So what I did is I just combined them. So whether it's the option A or option B, because then the cell sizes become really, really small. So the city of Green Bay comes in at about, it just collapsing both down at about 73% support. The Alloway comes in at 71%. Bellevue at 73%. And then the very small 5% in the remaining areas of the district comes in at 80%. But now keep in mind, it's 20 people. So there's no statistically significant difference between the three areas. And there absolutely would be if there was a dollar amount attached. That's the power of a property tax neutral request to the public.
Yeah, I really appreciate those numbers. I did not expect those numbers, actually. So that's fantastic.
Yep.
Other questions? Thank you, Peter.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Okay, we'll move on to item 6 in the agenda, consent agenda. If someone could read the motion, please.
I move that the consent agenda items as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kenzie?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. We'll move to item 8 and the action items. Item A, a general contractor award for Preble High School FACE classroom. Would someone read the motion, please?
I move that IEI General Contractors be awarded the bid for the general contractor for the FACE classroom renovations at Preble High School in the amount of $324,000 as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kenzie?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
8B, the addendum to the 2026-2031 charter school contract.
I move that the addendum to 2026-2031 charter school contract between the Board of Education of the Green Bay Area Public School District and John Dewey Academy of Learning as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. 8C, selection of providers for community-based after-school programs.
I move that the Boys and Girls Club of Green Bay be approved to provide services for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers and/or Fund 80 community-based after-school programs for the 2026-27 school year for Dan's and Fort Howard Elementary Schools for a total of $263,154 as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. 8D, the selection of providers for community-based school programs, YMCA.
I move that the YMCA of Green Bay be approved to provide services for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers and/or Fund 80 community-based after-school programs for the 2026-27 school year for Baird, Beaumont, Eisenhower, Howe, and Sullivan Elementary Schools for a total of $650,177 as presented be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you. 8E, the job description updates.
I move that the job description updates as presented be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Excellent. And finally, 8F, revisions to the Board of Education Policy 522.6. Andrew or Mary?
I move that the revisions for the Board of Education Policy 522.6, staff, student, and staff minor child communication and relations be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kinsey?
Online voting is now open. All votes have been entered and the motion is carried with all board members voting in favor.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You have been watching the Green Bay Area Public School District's Board of Education meeting. Please visit the school district's website, www.gbaps.org, for more information on the district and future meeting dates. If you cannot fully access the information on this video, please let us know the accessibility issue you are having by calling 920-448-2025 or by email at communications@gbaps.org. We will try to provide the information to you in an alternative format and/or make the necessary improvements to make the information accessible.